Hello, how are you?
Hey Ricky, how are you doing? Happy Hump Day.
Happy Hump Day. My video is acting crazy today, but I am good. And we have an incredible show. Here we go, Mo.
Listen, the doctor is in. And
We're
and
we're
today
outnumbered. We are outnumbered today, girl.
we're not outnumbered, we're outmanned. And it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Pun intended. I'm so glad to do this show and to meet these brothers and to let them basically take over the platform. We're gonna facilitate a couple questions, but we are just going to provide a safe and affirming space for spouses of women with breast cancer, for these men to talk about their experience and share their wisdom with us, share their journey, share their insight and their vulnerability. So this is the month of love, right? Of Black love,
Yep, I got my
and
love shirt on. See, I got my love shirt on
I
today.
love it. And
Um,
and and in no greater way is love tested than through sickness and in health, right? Through illness, especially something
Yeah,
like a cancer diagnosis. So
yeah.
yeah,
yeah, we definitely got to get into it because there's not a whole lot of data. Let me do my little 5 seconds of data, but 20 to 30%, and I would dare say more, 20 to 30% of spouses of patients with breast cancer suffer from mood disturbances like anxiety, like depression. And we know that the husbands of breast cancer patients are the most frequent providers of support. This is the backbone, and it's not true for every family, but for many patients, the spouse is the number one support and the caregiver. And
mhm,
and so we have to make sure that there's resources available and safe spaces. And so that's what we're doing here today, because patients do better when their spouses are engaged and involved, and couples are able to find their way back to intimacy through that vulnerability. So we want to help some folks get some love back today, fellas.
Yes, ma'am.
amen.
We do. So this show came about, and I'm gonna let these guys introduce themselves. From Curtis Howard, and he is
Mhm.
the loving, wonderful husband of our lovey Valerie. Valerie's been on a few times, and we love her. But he came to me in October, Mo, and said, "You know what? We need to show the husbands. We need to show the strength. We need to show what men are doing." And so that's how we got here today. So I'm going to let Curtis start and introduce himself, and then everybody will introduce, and then we'll get into it. Okay. So go, Curtis. I love you, Curtis.
All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Curtis Howard. My wife is Valerie Howard. We've July of this year, my wife and I will be married 34 years.
Amen.
Amen.
And so my wife got diagnosed. My wife got diagnosed in January of 2018. She had triple negative breast cancer. She was a stage 2. And when she told me, it hit me like a ton of bricks because I didn't know what to do. I was lost. And not only that, the two most important women of my life both had breast cancer at the same time. My mom had it already, and I was going back and forth dealing with her and helping my sister as much as I possibly can. And now my wife has it. So it hit me hard. I had nobody to talk to. I had nobody to complain to. I only had God. And God was the only one that helped me get through each and everything that we went through together. I was my wife was we had just moved to New Jersey. So my wife and I, we both of us are born and bred from Brooklyn, New York. So we lived in Rockland County for 16 years. So with us living for 16 years there, my wife got comfortable with the doctors and everything there. So now when she decided to go and get her biopsy, get her test, find out her diagnosis, she was comfortable with the doctors in New York. So it was a 2-hour trek for me each and every time we went to the doctor, whether we were going to see her oncologist, whether we were going to see the plastic surgeon, whether we were going to see the breast surgeon, whether I had to work. It really didn't matter. All I knew is that I had to get my wife to the places that she needed to go. And she needed me to help her.
Sir.
I couldn't see not helping my wife when she's in the most vulnerable spot that she could ever be in. not knowing whether she's going to make it. She's worried about more about our kids and me than she is about herself. Matter of fact, we have 3 children. We have 2 boys and a girl. My oldest boy he's 42. I have a daughter who's 34, and my youngest son is 30. I have 3 grandchildren, 3 beautiful grandchildren. My oldest grandchild is 23, my granddaughter is 17, and Ricky talked about Jaden. Jaden's 8 years old. So for me, this format that we're doing today is most needed, because there's a lot of us men who are being the primary caregiver and everything, and we're suffering in silence because there was really no place for us to go, no one for us to talk to. And my thing is, if we are dealing spiritually, and I agree with what James said totally, because you know what? If I didn't have God to get me through this, I don't know how we would have made it. I needed his love. I needed his guidance. I needed everything that he could possibly give me, just so I could be the husband and be the provider, be the lover and the friend that I could be to my wife, because she needed me wholeheartedly. There was no such thing as, you know what, I'm too tired to do this. There was no such thing as being, and even when I heard Dr. Mo with intimacy, even with my wife, I'm saying it was just hard. I didn't know where to touch her. I wanted her to know that the love was there, and that I was there for her. But to hug her or hold my wife like I did before this diagnosis came it was hard, because now she's dealing with, after having surgeries, and the surgeries worried me the most, because in the span of 2 years, my wife was under the knife 6 times. And each and every time I had to depend on God just to get her through it and get me through it. Because now don't I only have her, I got my kids and my grandkids worried about what's going on with mother. Because that's Jaden, that's his name for, there's no grandma, it's mother. That's all he knows. So with us as men, it's important for me right now to see these men on this platform, to see these men on this format, to see that I wasn't alone, to see that there are, because from some of the statistics that I've read that my wife has showed me, where a woman is 90% more likely to stay during a sickness than a husband. See, we are providers. We are protectors. And I know sometimes society comes to a point where they would look at us and say, you know what, because we're men, we're supposed to put an H on our chest and handle any situation. But that's not the case. I've never felt more vulnerable than that when my wife got the diagnosis. And to have to deal with my wife and my mother at the same time, it was a lot. But I thank God that he brought me through it. I thank God that I was there to help her, because I'm saying I became a caregiver. I became a nurse. I became a doctor, if I could say that, Dr. Mo. But I'm saying it even came to a point where, even during her journey, her white blood count was dropping. So now I couldn't get her, with me and working, I couldn't get her to the place each and every day for her to have a shot. So I talked to the oncologist, and he worked with me. And so the shots were sent to my house, and I gave my wife her shot each and every day, which was new to me, but it's something that had to be done. But I thank you. I thank the Lord that, you know what, March of this year, my wife will be 3 years clean. And it's a blessing. I still have I still have oncologists I have to take her to. I still have other doctors I have to take her to. But you know what? The danger as so far is over. I'm saying we're not only is she an overcomer, I'm an overcomer also, because I was there in that fight. And for me to be there with her, especially after we've been married all these years, is love in itself.
Amen. Thank you, brother.
Wow, wow, that's powerful. You said a mouthful. You said a lot that lots of people who are watching are thinking and feeling. And I want to invite the rest of our panelists to share their stories, and then we're gonna get into some hot topics. So please, by all means, whoever would like to go next.
Kevin.
Okay. Evening, everybody. My name is Kevin Sanford. My wife is Cindy Sanford, and we've been married almost 23 years. And we are in the midst of this right now. Cindy was diagnosed back in October. And I remember the first Friday in October, she told me I felt a lump. And so that started the process. And it was a very quick, mind-blowing process, and where initial visits and mammograms and biopsies. And it was about 10 days later, we had not a full diagnosis, but we were 99% sure. And
Okay.
so it turned out it was invasive lobular cancer. And a month later in November, had a double mastectomy. And we are now 75% done with chemo, with radiation to follow, and then reconstruction on the horizon after that. And so everything happened so fast. It was impossible to even put into words what goes through your mind and how the fear can grip you.
Right.
I don't want to say lucky, but I had, my mom was a breast cancer survivor before lung cancer ended up coming back and taking her away from us. But having my dad, having gone through everything that I was about to go through, was tremendous. He gave me insight into, all right, here's what's going to happen. And that helped calm me a little bit. But it really didn't do the trick. And I think I told, Cindy many times that, because my whole job in this thing was just let her know that I loved her and we were going to be all right and we were going to get through it. And I also told her that we can't do this. I'm not strong enough to do this, and you're not strong enough to do this. Fortunately, we don't have to do this alone, because God's got us.
Amen.
And without that, there's absolutely no way we would have made it. But I will also say the biggest points of fear were from the moment of positive diagnosis up until we had surgery. Because for those 3 weeks, there was all these things that we didn't know, and there was all these questions, and there was you just don't know. All right, well, how bad is it, and what's really going to happen? And I will say that the night of surgery, I spent the night in the hospital with her. I was able to, even despite the COVID protocols, and that was the best night of sleep I had in a month. It was there was a peace that came just from knowing that, all right, this process has started. We're in good hands. We have phenomenal doctors, and we were just extremely blessed. Because going into this, before any of this starts, you don't know any of these doctors. These are not your normal doctors that you're working with. You're meeting all these people and starting the process, and you don't know what you're going to get, and you don't have time to vet people. The most important thing in our minds was, let's get this party going. Let's get through this, and can't get through it if you don't get started. And so we were extremely blessed to have loving and caring doctors who talked us through what was going to happen, let us know what to expect, and it just felt like we could trust them, and that was a tremendous blessing. But as I said, we're still going through it, but I'm confident that we are on the backside, and everything's going to be all right. We still have, at this point, and There are still tasks to perform, but victory is nigh, and it's going to be a
Amen.
done deal.
Amen.
Right.
And
Amen. How about Jason? Thank
Mm.
you, Kevin. Jason.
Well, I wish I had less experience with this than I do. Uh, let's see. Nancy, I'm Jason Marshall. My wife is Nancy Herard Marshall, and she was first diagnosed October of 2013.
Mhm.
Before that, I had two grandmothers, and since a third transition as a result of
Mm.
cancer. And
Okay.
in the last 4 years, I've had two sisters, and my wife has had it twice.
Mhm.
She was first diagnosed in 2013. I remember I was out running errands when she called me because she said she kind of felt a little off, and so she went to the doctor. And since about 2012, I've been really concerned with our wellness, physical fitness and hydration and sleep and all those kind of things. And as a profession, I'm a musician.
Mm.
So she got diagnosed with kind of, I guess they would call it stage zero, but they wanted to do a double mastectomy anyway, right? And as you've heard, it happens quickly, right? They say, okay, well, the doctor said, the quicker we act, the greater the likelihood of success, and so on and so forth. So, they said we don't have to do chemo and radiation, but we do have to do surgery. So that's what happened. We have two kids, two boys, uh, 12 uh, and getting ready to be 21 in June.
Mm. Mm.
And it seemed to be, at least what to the extent that I understood it at the time, you know, the best worst case scenario. Like it's not good, but it's survivable. And life goes on, and then let me see, I recorded an album, and you know, I was getting in the middle of putting together a tour, and getting CDs pressed and doing all of that. And Uh, I'm in California the end of January 2019, and I get a call. Uh, she's in the hospital with elevated liver activity. You gotta come. You
Mm.
gotta come back right now.
Mm.
So, I mean, I left CDs. I left all of it. I went from the convention center back to the airport. You know,
Mm.
picked up my bag and went to the airport, and uh, went from the airport to the hospital. And in that week she was in the hospital, it was elevated liver activity. There's stuff at the head of the pancreas. And stuff is kind of whizzing by you, and and I wasn't really satisfied with the care she got. I'm still not satisfied, if I'm honest. But uh, you know, the the diagnosis was presented stage 4, and I said, okay, because at first, even stage 0 sounds like a death sentence when you don't know, right?
Mm.
Um,
Right.
and so, I'd had my head around it, and like I said, I don't mean to sound terse, but I've had way more experience with it than I'd wish on anyone.
Mm.
And so, 2019 starts off okay, and then everything stops with her diagnosis. and
Mm.
chemo, and different and the chemo was so tricky that um and the doctors were um both fortunately and unfortunately kind of blunt. They just said, well, at some point you got to decide if you want her to die of chemo or die of cancer. And so those
Mm.
are the decisions we make. So I just said, okay, well, I'm going to be here to support you, and that will mean whatever. I'll be here to do whatever there is needing to be done.
Right.
Because you still got to be a parent, you still got to be a family member, and all of the things. But I mean, I've had this experience kind of back to back since, I don't know, 2002, three, something like that.
Mm.
You know, basically since I went to college in 2001, and I remember
Mm.
in 2002 that that was when the first time I had a relative sick with it, as an adult. And basically
Mm.
since then, every few years something has happened. Um, but I have been in the support role and the caregiver and the one to show up every time. And so yeah, that's been my experience.
Mm.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Wow. Blessings. Wow.
It is a journey. Wow.
Journey.
When you
It's a
never
long
asked for it.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I said 2019. It was 2020 because basically what happened was that 2020 started off being like looking like it was gonna be cool, and then before January was over, everything was different, and then the lockdown happened. But the whole time during lockdown, the last thing I'm thinking about is COVID-19 because we're just trying to deal with that.
Right.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. Cancer will outlive COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cancer doesn't quarantine. You know my hashtag.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much. James.
Hey, hey, first, I want to thank God for this opportunity. Brother Curtis and Ricky and Doc, this is so needed. And I do hope a Facebook page gets created. I'm on Facebook pages for the breed of my dog, my high school friends, and all of them are helpful. But I would
Right.
love to be able to share my knowledge, my experience with another man to help them get through what they're going through. You know,
Amen.
my wife, my name is James Carter, and I'm married to my beautiful wife, Tasha Carter. We've been married for over 25 years. Um, Tasha was diagnosed in 2011. Um, she too felt a low lump, and no, we weren't really paying too much attention to it, or I wasn't, but I know she was, and she was like, this didn't go away, it's still here. So she said it's bothering me, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to the doctor. And so she went, and like I was telling you all before, um, she called me while I was at work and said, honey, and I could hear in her voice something was wrong. She said, the doctor told me I have breast cancer.
Mm.
And I tell you, the everything kind of went in slow motion at the time, but fear came on quick. But everything else was like in slow motion. And my troops, I'm a retired police officer. I was a sergeant, and they knew something was really wrong because nothing really rattles me. I'm able to process things really quick and figure out a solution. And for this, there was no solution right off. So I just told my troops, hey, I got to get home to my wife. She's just been diagnosed with breast cancer. I need you guys to hold the fort down until I get back in touch with you. And I went out in the car and sit there, and I cried and I cried and I cried. I was so scared. And what each one of you all mentioned was the fear. But because what I've been through and the people that I've talked to, I always call it uneducated fear.
Mm.
When my wife was diagnosed back in 2011, I believe it was 85% of women that catch their breast cancer at early stages survive. But at that moment, I did not know that. It was breast cancer and my wife's name just shouldn't even be in the same sentence together.
Right.
So I, got myself together and I got home. And as soon as I pulled in my driveway, it was like this shield of courage and knowledge just came over me. And my wife was at work when she got the call, which I mean, I don't think she should have received the call, while she was at work, and not knowing how she's going to get home. But we pulled up at the same time, and I got out of the car. We stood in the driveway, and I said, "Baby, we're going to beat this. Today is your day to cry. After today, it's no more crying. We're going to fight anything negative. I'm going to remove it from you, and I don't care who it is." And I said, "I need you to look at me and understand that we're going to beat this." And she had tears coming down. She's like, "Okay, we're going to do this." So we hugged in the driveway, and she had told her parents. So the minute I get her in the house and I have my wife come, her parents come to the front door. Her dad is a big guy. He's like 300 pounds, 6 something. And when I opened the door, before I could say, "Dad, she's in a good place, let's keep it this way," he hit that corner and saw my wife, and he just bust out crying. I'm like, oh my God, the pep talk that I gave her, is going to break her down, And her mother stood at the door with me. She said, when she told us that she had breast cancer, she had a calm about herself. And I know my daughter, and I know that's because of you. So I feel comfortable knowing that you got her. And my daughter, my wife, she consoled her father, like, "Dad, I'm going to be okay." So she got that first one. It was stage 0. So she went back for a bilateral mastectomy. And then in the other breast, it was stage 1. So my wife is super strong. Her will to live is amazing. The doctor was talking about a lumpectomy. And my wife was like, "Nope, I'm doing a double mastectomy and I'm getting rid of this so that I can reduce my risk of it coming back." Because she has a she has a cousin that was diagnosed 15 years ago, and she went through everything, and 15 years later, it came back. So that fear of every time a woman has to go to get a mammogram done, that fear comes back after you've, if you have a lumpectomy or just a mastectomy, that fear always comes back every time you have to go and get a mammogram. So I applaud my wife. She made a big, strong move. I didn't think that she should have done it, but it was her life. And she's like, "I'm going to live." So she just came from the doctor today, 10 years, and she's still cancer free. To touch on what the doctor said about the intimacy part, my wife also went and had a full hysterectomy, because when you have breast cancer, the chances of cervical cancer are greater, and there's no warning signs. She went through the BRCA testing and all of that. And the gynecologist said, "Do you sure you want to do a full mastectomy? You're gonna lose some sensation, and it's gonna throw you right into menopause." And my wife said, "Take it all." Even to the day of the surgery, he asked her again while she was in pre-op, "Are you sure you want to have everything removed?" She said, "Remove everything." So, and she did. And it's been a life changer, but I know that she's going to live, she's going to survive. And everything that come after that with relearning my wife, uh, the points that used to get her in the mood or intimate, the main one was gone. And you try to be understanding, you don't want to push. So a lot of times we're just quiet, like some of you all has said. And I would ask her sometimes, what since you don't have your breasts, I need you to teach me what can, make you feel intimate, what can make you feel sexy, what can I do? And a lot of times it's that communication. You're not going to get the answer the first time because she might not even know. So it takes a lot of communication. And Miss Ricky knows I support my wife 10,000%. Every event I'm there, I'm dressed in my pink. Everywhere I support my wife, and it makes her feel good. And all her breast cancer survivors, they know that Mr. James is coming with a pink suit or pink blazer, pink shoes or something. So I just thank you for letting me share my story. And I am here for any of you all. The beauty of this is we can exchange telephone numbers,
Right.
And through this, we're professional guys. Through a conversation I had with another guy who had gone through it, we ended up talking about prostate urologists and PSA numbers, and come to find out we had the same urologist. But normally we don't talk about stuff like that. So this is a platform for us to vent, for us to comfort one another, and figure this thing out together.
This is incredible.
I
You
know.
said so much that both patients and their partners are thinking and feeling, right? And I know before the show started, we touched on, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it once we went live, but there are significant challenges with intimacy that nobody talks about with women facing breast cancer. When 80% of men who are diagnosed with prostate cancer get talked to about sexual dysfunction and some aspect of intimacy and functionality there. Women, not so much. And our sexual selves are challenged at every point in the cancer journey, whether it's surgery and it's scar tissue, or it's confidence and self-esteem, whether it's chemotherapy and nausea and weight gain from steroids, or libido, or whether it's radiation and burns to the skin, or, even in remission, we're on this estrogen blocker and it's causing vaginal dryness, and it's causing challenges with libido and hot flashes every other minute. Like, nobody talks about it with women. And so women don't know how to talk about it with their partners and their spouses. And, I guess one good question I have for all of you is there anything and that could have prepared you for this? Was there anything that could have prepared you for this journey that you're on?
No.
Facebook group.
All right, we're gonna start.
Facebook group would have helped me.
I'm gonna start that Facebook
Yes,
group
we are.
tonight. Okay. And
No was a good answer.
No, Dr. Mo, nothing that, and I'm saying I'm 61 years old, and I've been through a lot in my life, and nothing could have prepared me for this. Nothing. It was, it was learning and going through each and every individual test, each and every chemo, each and every radiation, each and every surgery, and continue to learning and trying to be as helpful as a spouse that you could be to your wife. No, nothing. I mean, maybe some of the guys on the panel may disagree with me, but no, for me personally, there was nothing that could have prepared for me for this. Nothing.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. If there were resources available or some, if somebody could write a playbook that you could read when you started into it, it might be helpful. But by and large, you don't even know what you don't know as you start stepping into it. You don't even know what questions to ask, or you just take it day by day and handle it as it comes. And
That's
it's unfortunate to say, but I don't, I want to say, even if somebody could have given me volumes of information, I don't know that I would have been able to process it. And so that it would make sense to me and really prepare me.
Right.
It's almost like when you have a loved one that is dying and they're in hospice, maybe for a long time, and you would think you have time to prepare yourself a little bit more, but when it happened, it's like none of the the days that led up to that even mattered. You're never prepared for it when it happens. No
Right.
matter how people try to comfort you or console you, when it happens, it happens. And to me, the same thing with breast cancer. You know, you as a spouse, you are the protector, you're the head of that house, and you have to make it work.
Mhm.
Yeah, I found that you know, in terms of what can prepare you, like I said, just before she got diagnosed, I kind of started down the path of trying to maintain a certain health baseline. Started,
Mhm.
right? I wish I knew now what I knew then, because
Right.
you know, um, just because even at 2012, 2013, I was like, man, this happens too much for there to be no
Right.
answers, right? It happens, you
Right.
know, and it's like, um, and I remember at that time being in church, and there were, you know, praying for the sick and shut in, and you know, if there's any special prayers you want us to pray for anyone in particular. And I was, especially then, I was certainly in line for all of those kinds of things. But I was at, you know, I started to get critical of the methods, because I said, well, every other weekend y'all funeralizing somebody who died of cancer. So so how do the prayers stop it?
Mm.
Like, what are the prayers supposed to do if every other weekend there's somebody dying of
Mm.
something that you know, other folks don't die of? So that was one of the catalysts for me to say, okay, I don't know that doctors really know um, how to prevent this reality. So I don't know if I don't know if that's the way to go. And I will say we've had the best, by far the best experience in terms of Nancy's health with a naturopath, you know, with homeopathic medicine. I mean, by far. Like, the first oncologist, I mean, he lasted a few weeks, and he was so dismissive and so proud of what he knew. I finally asked him, I said, have you ever had cancer? He said, yeah. I said, well, what did you do? He said, well, I just cut it out. I said, so what are you qualified to answer questions about other than cutting it out? If you yourself, a cancer doctor, um, don't have a solution. Um, and you know, just the system had never left me feeling confident in what they were doing, if I'm honest.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, and even now, other than the naturopaths that I've had interactions with, I've never met oncologists or anyone like that 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 looked healthy to me. They just were
Mhm.
incidentally doctors by professions, but I was never, you know,
Mhm.
I was never left those kinds of situations feeling like they really knew what to do about it. They could just help us
Right.
manage the dying process, which that that don't interest me.
Right.
You know.
Mm. So
Well,
where,
I can say,
mhm,
well, I can say, Jason, as to you, I can say that well, my wife and I have been fortunate because
Mhm.
we've had oncologists and the breast surgeon and the plastic surgeon who have been not only helpful, but they were thoughtful. My wife wasn't just another patient to them.
Mhm.
She was my wife. They understood that, they understood her feelings. They understood how I felt. So I can basically, I haven't had that, but I can basically say with the medical staff that has been around my wife, they have been very supportive and very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll add one other thing in our journey that I found it's probably super helpful. Every single doctor involved with us is a woman, and that's probably rare, but it,
Mhm.
it is good for just for relatability. My wife can
Mhm.
ask them, if you were me, what would you do? And they
Right.
can share what has happened in the past. At least two of them have said, this is what my mother had, and this is what we did. And it's not
Right.
just somebody coming from a place of their knowledge and their expertise. They know what it's like. They,
Mm.
they,
Right.
they understand the feelings that she's having, and that has been a godsend.
Okay.
Right.
Wow, you know, Jason, listening to you, you sound like a lot of patients that end up coming to see me in second opinion, and they come with their spouses, and there's a lot of really valid frustration, I think, at the medical algorithms and how cancer is treated, and the very fact that there are sometimes these algorithms that seem to prevent personalization. And you know, your feelings brings up for me a really important point, which is that holistic practices and modern medicine can exist in the same house. They can work together, that there are opportunities. I have naturopathic doctors that I refer my patients to, and all of it works together for the health and welfare of our patients. And I wish that more doctors would tap into that. I wish that, you know, more patients would be
Yeah.
receptive to it, but it
Well,
can work together.
see, I think that, well, I won't say that. In my experience,
You can say anything.
well, let's say traditional doctors have asked us not to divulge what naturopathic measures we have taken, because it offends their profit model, and it offends what they are taught to disseminate as quote medical advice, right?
Mm.
But you know, the only thing that looked like progress that we've had has come from naturopathic means.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Absolutely.
so based on that, I mean, my mind is pretty made up, but I understand some people are not really of a mind to manage the amount of risk that you're taught you're going to take if you pursue naturopathic means, because a lot of the traditional doctors say, okay, I mean, you can chew on a bunch of twigs and leaves and drink some special water or whatever, but I can't help you if you do any of that.
See, and that burns
And
me up, because a good
yeah,
doctor should want to know about all of it.
Right.
and I don't know any good
Yeah.
doctors.
Any and all
So
of it,
yeah.
any and all of it, any and all of it count.
Mhm.
It's interesting when you guys said, you know, there's nothing that could prepare you. I would say that your wives had the same experience.
Mm,
I don't know what would have prepared me for breast cancer either, you know. So as much as you feel like there's an unknown, you know, we feel that too. And we have that fear of like not knowing as well. And but I think that you know, once you sort of it's a club that you don't want to be in, but once you're in it, you get instant breasty love. And so we can pretty quickly find resources with each other. You know, how I met Tasha, you know, how I met Valerie, and even how I found you guys, you know, Jason and Kevin, you know, on Facebook from your wives. So we have a community that exists out there that we can sort of gravitate towards each other. So we need to community, we need to create that for you guys. And of course, Harper's Bar, you know, but we need to make that happen for men and give you guys a place to have a voice and talk to each other. So I promise to work on that. But, you know, I think that that community is really important. And, you know, when somebody in the family gets sick, gets cancer, everybody gets
Right.
cancer.
Yeah.
Everybody. So it's a family affair. So, you know, you guys have embraced that. And I just so commend, you know, everything that you're saying and everything that you're feeling. And it's just, you know, I'm so happy to be having this conversation. I'm going to shut so Harper won't bark anymore.
I got a question for you along those lines. One, I think Jason alluded to this about being in tune with his health and with the family's health, but has this experience and this journey made you more aware of, and I guess more conscious and in tune with your own health and with your family's health? Do you guys have these conversations in your households and your families now?
I can speak on that. My wife, she is a very health conscientious woman. I mean, she eats right, she exercises, and she promotes it on her Facebook page every day. I was a little,
Her body is her temple. She's a badass, your wife, right?
yeah, yeah. I was a little hard headed. You know, I'm a country boy. I like my fried chicken and French fries and a few beers and all of that kind of stuff. You know, but I've started to come around. The older I've gotten, I realize my body doesn't recover like it used to. And I was diagnosed with high blood pressure because I had gained probably like 10 pounds, 15 pounds. I got up to like 210 pounds. And I had an episode and they told me my blood pressure was high, and they put me on blood pressure medicine, and it made me change my diet. And just changing my diet, I lost that 10 pounds or 15 pounds. And so it let me know that my diet and exercise, my wife we had arguments for 20 years about me exercising. I'm a former Marine, always physically fit. I felt like I didn't need the exercise that she was doing. I had it, but the older I got, my body didn't respond to those old Marine Corps tricks, and I started getting a little thicker. My kids, I think what broke the camel's back, my kids would put their hand on my stomach and say, "Hey, what's going on?" And I made the conscious decision that I have to start working out and I have to change my diet. I'm not where I need to be, but I'm not where I used to be. So a healthy diet definitely helps everybody out.
Mm-hmm.
But James, I think we're all in the same boat because as men, we're just hard headed. We want what we want, and that's all it is to it. Because I can say my wife been trying to change my diet, my way of eating, and everything, and I finally came around. I finally came around because now for me, I've had high blood pressure for years. I've been a diabetic since 2002. So it's a struggle for me each and every day. I have to try to watch what I eat, and I'm hard headed. I mean, I'm not a sweet person. I don't like sweets all the time, but when it comes to chips and dips and then sitting there and or at the watching the game, having a couple of beers and stuff. I mean, that's what I enjoy. It bothers me, but that's what I enjoy. So, but I've come around. My wife started making us the green smoothies that I drink in each and every morning. And because I've done that and asked that, I've lost 15 pounds.
Wow.
So, well, my thing is I'm 6'6", so I started at 270 pounds. So I went down to 255.
Good job.
And I must tell you, I went back my ways. I slacked. I got to get back on there again. But that's just how we are. We can't help it. That's just how we are. We want what we want.
I agree.
I love this conversation.
Yeah.
So great.
Our situation has actually been almost the reverse because
Okay.
I got really into it 2013 more. I mean, I was a vegetarian since 2003, and I remember, I call it getting off the bus. The first time uh, I was I remember being a teenager saying, "Dad, I don't want to watch the game." And then that same year, I
Okay.
said, "I don't want to eat barbecue on the 4th of July." And so I ate
Okay.
barbecue the 4th of July. The next day, I said, "I never want to eat meat again." And that was
Right.
2003. So I've been on
Okay.
some stage of where I'm at now for a lot of years now, and I've done all kind of dietary experiments. I mean, even now I'm in the middle of one where I've eaten basically the same meal every day for 3 years, just as an
Mm.
experiment to
Okay.
see what variety does to the human body.
Okay.
And I've gotten, in terms of Nancy's thing, when I saw how her first experience went, I said, man, I trust the medical system even less now
Right.
because they supposed to have been knowing what they were doing this whole time. And
Right.
she goes from 0 to stage 4 while she's supposed to be cured. And
Right.
then at the same time, the oncologist assigned to her has contracted and simply just cut out the cancer that he had. So I'm like, okay,
Right.
so let me start off with none of y'all know what you're talking about, right?
Right.
Because if you knew, then you wouldn't have had it, but you got it. So, um, let me take some agency with the research and the diet, and it's just like I've gotten to this point now where I'm like, the only thing you can give somebody you care about is the reassurance that you are okay.
Right,
Because
right,
nothing else matters really. Like otherwise, what are we talking
right,
about?
right, right,
Like when you're a parent, all you care about is are your kids okay,
Right.
Well,
right?
right.
let me ask you
Go
guys
ahead.
this
Yeah.
then. What does self-care look like for you, for each of you? How do you get okay and stay okay?
It's tough. It's tough, Doc. Um, we wear a lot of hats, just like women. But I tell people a lot of times that testosterone and that estrogen, and if you don't have testosterone, you don't know what you go through. Just like we don't have estrogen, so but we don't have the levels that women have. So I don't understand the hot flashes and how it can be 10 degrees, 5 degrees outside, and you wind the windows down. You know, I don't understand that. But
Pick it up. I'm
testosterone
not-
testosterone pushes men to do certain things, and we feel that we're invincible and that we can do anything. But I'm here to tell you, I really think that I probably should have had some counseling
Mhm.
to once it was said and calmed down. I really felt like I needed some counseling to tell me that, hey, you did a good job and it's normal what you're going through. Here are some things that you should do, to help you deal with those feelings that you feel. I didn't have that, so I dealt with it the best way I knew how to.
Right,
So it's been tough.
right. Well, you know what? I agree with Jason sometimes because it's kind of hard to go to a doctor and he's going to sit there and poke me and prod me and then tell me, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. And I'm looking at you and you ain't in no type of shape at all.
At
So who are
all.
you to tell me? Who are you to tell me that I need to get in shape and you're not an example?
Talk
Right.
about it. You talk
Right.
about it. That's right.
Right. Right. Right. Right. So
It's like, what's your blood pressure, doc? Right?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because I'm saying you coming over there, and a lot of times, some of the doctors I've had, you coming in there, you breathing heavy, your stomach's over your belt, and you gonna sit there and tell me I need to lose weight? Are you
That
kidding
Exactly.
happens.
me?
Exactly.
And to tell you the truth, maybe for me, maybe that's why I have a hard time going to a doctor. I have to actually get sick in order for me to go because with all your degrees and everything, y'all are not helping me out because y'all are not an example to me at all.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
I got a question for you guys. I hear you. Um, how did you guys deal with your kids through all this?
Mm.
I gotta know,
You know what?
how did you deal
Well,
with kids?
Well, for me, Ricky, my kids took it hard. They took it hard from the beginning, but you know what? After you know what? I guess they also had to look to me also because if I fell, they were all gonna fall. So even though I did it by did it by day, did it by every hour, every minute, they all became strong, and I thank God for them because they all became that support I needed. Because when I couldn't get, if I got tired or when I couldn't get my wife to the doctor, my son and my daughter would jump right in and get her to the places that she had to go. So I'm saying they became very supportive. I had a nice little inner circle when it came to taking care of that.
Mm. I had I have still awesome parents, and
Mhm.
so they stepped right up when I said, "Okay, well, here's my situation," and you know, w- they just kind of say, "Okay, well, you need us to take little Jason." Our older one is autistic and nonverbal, so he lives at a residential program. where he can get,
Okay.
where he can access the resources that he needs. So in a way, he's been kind of isolated from it.
Right.
But the young one, I mean, he was so young the first time it happened. When he just knew he was going to get to kick it with his grandparents for a few months, and that was great.
Oh, okay.
So
Right. Right.
um,
Right.
and then and he spends time with them extended periods every year, just because they say, well, where, especially my mother, she say, where my grandbaby at? And she'd be like, I'm taking him, and I don't know when I'm bringing him back, and y'all just gonna have to be okay with it. So
That's what we love to do as grandparents. Give me those
yeah,
babies. Yeah.
there you go, there you go.
Right.
So fortunately for us, that 2020 was one of those things too. And it was hard. It was hard. But it was definitely made easier by that.
Right.
So with I mean the hard part, I will say this, the hard part is when your kids ask you, is mom gonna be okay? Because instinctively
Right.
you say
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
but you don't
Right.
know that.
yeah.
Right. Right.
So, I'm like, man, I hope she don't make me out to be a liar, because
Okay, God.
they looking at me like,
Right.
go ahead.
So it's okay, God. That happened for me, right? Kevin, you're awfully quiet up there. What you thinking
No, I was
about?
gonna say we've got a single child, a daughter who'll be 21 tomorrow, and so
Okay.
prior to this,
Happy birthday.
her only experience with cancer was, she knows that cancer took Grammy 5 years ago. So there was that initial
Okay.
fear. And so
Right.
in her own way, she had to process. And there were a whole lot of questions that she asked that she only asked Cindy. So there were a whole lot of conversations that happened to increase her knowledge of what was going on and her comfort
Okay.
level that I was not
Right.
party to. But
Mhm.
I do know that in that process, it's making her more aware of I'm a woman too. What do I need to worry about? And a little bit of, I think I felt something. Oh my God. And Cindy telling her, no, baby, you didn't feel anything. You're going to be all right.
All right.
But that was all just part of just the journey and getting into this.
Right.
But again, lots of conversations. And again, just like Jason said, baby, it's going to be all right. Just confirming that no matter what, God's got us. We're going to get through it.
Right.
Yeah. My kids were, I believe, 12 and 14. My daughter is older. And when my wife came home, they weren't there. They were at school. So we were like, well, we have to figure out how we're going to tell them, the best way to tell them. But that weekend they had guests staying, so we had to wait until Sunday for their friends to go for us to have this conversation. And there's a movie with 50 Cent in it where he got really, really sick and he lost a lot of weight for his part in the movie. And man, that doggone movie was on, he was dying of cancer, and I got all of this fear, I got all of this fear bottled up in me. And I'm like, oh my God, man, that's what's going to happen to my wife. And my kids was looking at the movie. So I'm like, this is the first thing going to pop in their mind. I wanted to change the channel, so that they didn't see it, but after their friends left, we called them down and said, we have to tell you guys something. And we're going to start off with, everything is going to be okay. But, your mom has cancer, breast cancer. And my daughter immediately, tears started coming down. And my son is a little different. He holds a lot of things in. And he was trying to hold it in as much as he could. And then he just broke down, and we just needed to get them through that moment right there. That was really tough to try to build my kids back up, to put them on the same level that their mom and I were on, that it's going to be okay. Cancer is not a death sentence. Your mommy's going to be okay. And it was tough, but we got through it.
You know, I see a lot of women who don't want to talk about their cancer journey with their family members, with their spouses, like they keep this to themselves. And I wonder if you have some advice for women who might be watching who aren't having these conversations with their spouses on the importance of it, or even how to get started.
Call my wife. I tell you, my wife, and again, you'll hear me say this over and over. She is a better person because of breast cancer. She is so much stronger. She's like laser focused on herself, on breast cancer awareness. There's so many times that people on the police department, they have a loved one that's diagnosed. The first person they call is my wife. My wife is a retired police officer also. I've seen her on the phone with a woman that was all the way in California, and this woman just could not see having her breast removed. So my wife talked to her and they cried together on the phone. I said, honey, I know you really don't know her, but ask her, does she want you to send a picture of her breast? You know, so she could see the scars and see that you're just as beautiful, you know what I mean, before you had the surgery. If you see my wife with clothes, you never know what she's been through. And that's what she gets through to so many women, hundreds of women I know my wife has been in touch with, and she takes it as a badge of honor to be able to reach these women. She was just called last week, and she just told me this morning that she reached out to the lady and she never called her back. A friend referred her to talk to my wife, and she said, well, she's one of the ones that I don't feel comfortable talking about it, and hopefully she'll come around.
Right.
I want to chime in here because what I think is important is that you gotta develop. I'm saying I got a bad habit of telling people what they got to do, right?
Okay.
But what I
But you're
found
right though.
has been my experience, that if you do things to develop your emotional capacity and intelligence, these things become easier to manage.
Yes.
Not that bad things won't happen to you, but I wanted to push. I can't remember who said it, but I want to push back when I first heard it. Um, Cry every day if you have to, because what you don't want to do is to snap or collapse under the weight of pent up emotion.
Right.
Because very often, what I find puts us in these more compromised positions than we have to is that we become desperate because things happen suddenly. Right? So rather than and like I said, I've been dealing with somebody I love with cancer my whole adult life. Somebody, right?
Right. Right.
Um, but if you allow yourself to go through the things, then should you have to deal with them again, or should you deal with some other difficulty, it will not be compounded by the last thing you didn't deal with.
Right.
Say that.
Right.
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 Um, so sometimes, especially with young boys, I'll say, okay, well, it's okay to cry about it because that's normal. It's okay to be scared and not be sure about what's going to happen. It's okay to be angry. It's okay. All of those are okay.
Right. All those things, right.
So, you know, doing things that develop the capacity. And I found that for me, like, my wife dances. That's her thing, to just dance, to just help emote. You know, for me, it's
Right.
like I run. I run a 5K. Basically, I run a 5K or a 10K every other day. And on the days I don't run, I ride my bike and I do yoga every
Right.
day.
hmm
And that's just for me to stay built up so that I can support my family.
Right.
Because the last thing we
Right.
need is for them to have to worry about me.
True.
That's
True.
where I'm at, right?
Say that again. Say that again. That's really
I
critical.
mean, like if if you're in the middle of managing a cancer diagnosis, that's where the focus has to be. So for me, I'm like, well, let me fortify myself as much so that I don't become the one that we have to worry about. So if I gotta go to
Right.
therapy, if I gotta go to a support group, if I gotta, swim across the English Channel, I mean, whatever, you know what I mean? Because the other thing that I found that's therapeutic, and we struggle with going to therapy, right? Because we don't want to sit up in front of somebody and just be vulnerable for what feels like someone else's amusement or financial gain. But exertion over time induce revelation. So some of the answers you get during therapy, you can also get on a run. You can also get on a bike ride. You can also get like on a not that I've gotten it, but I'm saying like on a stairmaster. But like not really lifting weights, but like those prolonged activities can have an organic way of unpacking a lot of the stuff.
Right.
And so some of the answers will come to you if you submit to the process of exerting yourself, for extended periods.
Right.
Wow, you just answered part of my question. My next question for all of you is going to be for folks who may show this to their spouses, to the men in their lives, what advice do you have for them? I think that's great, tremendous advice, because
Yeah.
there might not be a lot of men watching right now, but I guarantee you they're going to be watching the replay. And they're going to be looking for some words of wisdom and encouragement on where to get started and what to do. So if you have it, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
I say educate yourself as much as possible so that you can control that uneducated fear. To me, that uneducated fear, I mean, when she first said it, my mind just processed so fast. It was, planning to be a single dad,
Yeah.
right off the break. And I had to talk myself back, and once as more information I received, it calmed me down and gave me a better grasp on what was going on, and that I was able to tell my wife, assure her, you're going to be okay. But when you just don't know, you see all the stuff on TV and everyone else's horror stories, you think that's what's going to happen to your loved one. So I would say educate yourself, associate yourself with a group like this, or get as much information. I won't even say on the internet. You talk to a doctor, talk to someone who's been through it to get the reassurance that you need.
I love
Yeah.
that. And
Because
education here. Women have
I
that.
think like this, Dr. Moore, I even noticed that while we were watching TV during this crisis, before we didn't have all those ads. Every time my wife and I turned around, there was a cancer ad on the TV. I mean, we had to turn the TV off because it was already, bad enough that we were going through this and that my wife was going through this. But then they're talking about all the medicines that you can take. This will help this will help that. But the side effects, if you do this, it'll cause you to have suicidal tendency. Nobody wants to hear that while you're going through a diagnosis, while you're going through treatment and everything with your wife. You don't want to hear all that. There was a whole lot of negativity. So my wife and I, we had to try to stay away from as much negativity as possible. And for me, I'll tell you, gentlemen, prayer helps me a whole lot. That's where I relieve my stress. That's where I was able to let go of my burden and give it to the one who knew all.
Yes, sir.
It helped me a whole lot.
And I would say that the thing that I would tell anybody, starting down this path is that you need to fully understand that you cannot fix this. There's nothing that you can do other than be there and be supportive. And
that's right.
So you just need to move heaven and earth just to be there. You need to move heaven and earth to just to do whatever, just to give her whatever she needs. But just know going in, this ain't, it's not your battle to fight. There's nothing, you can't do anything yourself to fix it. But what she needs more than anything is support, emotional support. It's just everything to know that you're there and that you believe that, yes, We're gonna get through it, and I'm gonna be there with you every step of the way. And it doesn't matter what it takes. We've got this, not just you. That we've got this, and
Right.
that's all you. That's what you need to prepare for, and that's how you need to go forward.
Right. Amen.
I would say to anyone who's going through this, do what you can to rid your household of any micro carcinogens, because you know people think that cancer is like a punishment for doing something extreme, like actively pursuing something that you know to be carcinogenic, and it's not. You can just live on the wrong block and be exposed to something. You can just have a favorite nail polish that's deeply cancerous. You can have a favorite food. You can have a favorite, and it could be nothing wrong, right? Like, so for anyone, even if you don't, if you worried that you might get it for one reason or another, do some homework around micro carcinogens, because what happens is that you take, yeah, like no one's gonna drop dead of cancer for one night at Applebee's, right?
Right.
But when you take unfiltered water, uh, 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 synthetic shampoo, nail polish, beer, gas from toxic fumes from the car, the food, right? Like all of these environmental things that we think are kind of innocuous, right? Like just things that kind of add up to make our life. But all those things put together, most of those things contain microcarcinogens. So if because it's like, get your diet together. As soon as you get a diagnosis, get it together now before you have a diagnosis. But the thing is, you know, hospital food ain't necessarily medicinal, if you know what I'm saying.
Say that again.
I got a question for the doctor,
Come
for
on.
the heredity,
Mhm.
heredity. If it runs in your family, I think the education is picking up now, and I know my wife talks to my daughter. Because she was diagnosed, she starts 10 years earlier than my wife did. So if it's hereditary, I guess, do you push the more healthy eating and all of those other things, or is there anything that you can do to prevent it if it's heredity?
So that's a great question. And the answer is that, everybody has these genes, right? They're gatekeeper genes. They're protector genes that's supposed to protect the body and recognize when the cells start making mistakes and get rid of them. But some people, the gatekeeper or the spell checker is faulty. And so they're more predisposed to making those mistakes. So while, for example, surgery is, it's just something I do all day, every day, surgery for breast cancer, it can help reduce a woman's risk. It's not the only thing. And so the other things that we talk about have a lot to do with some of the things that Jason just mentioned, which is looking at your diet, right? So if all a cancer is a cellular mistake that makes another, that makes another, that makes a million, how can we increase your body's chances to recognize those mistakes and get rid of cellular damage? So having a diet that's high in anti-inflammatory foods, right? We want to decrease inflammation. We want to increase your antioxidants, things that can chomp away at cellular damage, right? We have to eat good food, and by good food, meaning preferably organic food, and watch our pesticides, but we have to also get good rest, right? Because our body, when we don't rest, is in this state of, it's like the motor is running in the car. And you know what happens when the motor keeps running, right? Your battery gonna die. Your car gonna run out of gas, and your battery's gonna go dead. And so it's a combination. It's a whole constellation of things that we can do to reduce risk. But for those people, they're at the highest level of risk. And so surgery is an extra tool that we can use. Sometimes doing things like blocking estrogen is an extra tool that we can use, but it's not always the right tool for everybody. And it doesn't always have to be the first choice for people too, And so I think there's a lot of room for counseling there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And I think there's stuff that we haven't identified yet for Black women, that we have still a lot of work to do on science because, we don't participate in research. And that's one of the things we're really working hard on, James, is to get more Black women into clinical research so we can have a better understanding of our bodies and our biology and how it's different because we have a different disease than white.
So do you do
Mhm.
in that effort, Ricky, do you find Black women more hesitant just because of our history with experiments? Just like they're saying now
Yeah.
with the vaccine, more Black people don't want to take the vaccine just because of historical events.
Yeah, we're rightfully suspicious.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. The system has earned our mistrust, right?
For sure.
But the data that says that 37% of Black women do not trust scientists, the medical
That's all?
science.
Only 37%? I would dare say it's a lot higher. It's
So
underreported.
that was an old study. That's an old study too, but we can have a whole nother conversation in the Facebook group. I'll tell you all about it, but we have a lot of work to do to get women comfortable with research so they feel empowered to do it as opposed to vulnerable about it,
Right. Okay.
So do you guys want to call your wives and bring them on and give them a hug?
Sure.
I'm not even gonna let that talk 'cause I don't want to hear what they're
Hey, Tasha, come on downstairs.
Nancy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my cans
That
up.
was close at hand. Hey,
Yeah,
Val.
she was lurking.
No, I wasn't, Ricky.
She was lurking.
Hi, guys.
Hey now.
Hey, Miss Val.
You guys have been
Nancy?
so phenomenal. Oh my gosh, this is like to be continued because there's so much more here, to talk about. And I want you guys, I want to make a forum so you can talk to each other. So we're not even in the room. You know what I mean?
Can I respond to
But
something
then
real
you guys
quick?
can really talk about sex and stuff and all that intimate stuff and, have good, rich conversations,
Right.
all that stuff.
James, you mentioned
Hey,
James, you mentioned something, and I just wanted to. I asked the naturopath the same question about heredity,
Hmm.
and he said genetics is a blueprint, but it's not the building.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be genetically predisposed to a lot of things. He said, but diseases don't run in the family. Traditions run in the family. So
Mhm.
you are probably eating what your parents ate, and you
Yeah.
probably live where your parents lived, and you
Yeah.
probably drink what they drink. So that runs in the family. But disease
Right.
in and of itself is not a hereditary thing.
Mhm.
Location is hereditary and traditions are hereditary, but not disease.
Right.
Well, I'm definitely gonna steal that one right there.
I mean,
Yeah.
wisdom is public domain. I didn't come up with it, but that's, for real.
It's true.
I love that. Wisdom is public domain. I love it. Well, your wisdom has been awesome.
Yeah, hey guys, this my superwoman right here, Tasha.
Hey,
Hey, Tosh.
Hey, Rick. Hey, Bob. Hello, hubbies.
Hey, now.
I was sitting watching the this meeting, and it's been so phenomenal to listen to all of you men talk about your wives and how passionate you are about supporting and listening to everybody's story. So I think it would be a good idea to have a group for you all just to kind of sit down and talk and share your experiences and bringing in, because what's also really nice is everybody's in different places.
Right.
Yes.
There's just a lot to be shared and a lot to be learned just from the experiences. And I think this is probably the best way to learn, because one of the things is all of our stories are so different, and all of our
Right.
recovery experiences and our paths have been so different, but there's still just great nuggets to pick up from each and every
Right.
one of you.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to make the Facebook group happen tonight. I will email you the link and y'all can get it going.
Nice.
Amen.
Thank you, Rick.
So
And
you guys have been,
I'm just
oh,
loving.
Mo is speechless. I've never seen Mo speechless.
I got lots to say, but this show is about this support. It's about this circle and establishing this foundation. And I think that is the most important thing. It is to create this space and provide an opportunity even to model the kinds of conversations and the kinds of love that we see between you and the dialogue between you. I think it's important to question everything, you know, often, even questioning your own practices. I think it's important to find doctors with whom you can enter this relationship, because it really is, I forget who said it, but it is very much a journey and a relationship that is ongoing. And so I applaud all of your courage and your vulnerability and your willingness to even share in this space with everybody. And I'm just so thankful you all are here.
So thankful.
Right.
So thankful. Thank you, Chris, for this awesome idea. Thank you guys for all of this. It's been phenomenal.
Hey, Ricky, one last thing. Hey, guys, have your wives teach you how to do self breast exams and tell your friends. It'll be fun for them.
And hashtag check your chest.
Yeah.
Hashtag check your chest, because male breast cancer as well is on the rise.
Yeah.
So everybody's got at least 2 sets of mammaries, and we all have to check them.
Yeah. I would
Yeah.
check the breast that you love. I
That
know
was
you
my
have a pair. I know you have a pair, and it can be fun, right? So work it out. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
no, we hope this has been relatable and reliable and real. It's what we set out to do every Wednesday night, and to bring something that people can use to make their lives a little bit better. So, you know, we thank you guys for being here. Are there websites that you want to let us know about that support you, or causes that you support?
My website is jasonmarshalljazz.com.
I know we need some music, Jason.
Beautiful.
Oh, okay. Well, here you go. That was the record I was putting out when all this happened. So
That's right.
We'll
Put a
put
link
everything
for
in
it. Put a link so we can
Put a
support.
link to it in the, put a link to it in the chat, and I'll put it on our Facebook page. I'll put it on our Facebook page for sure, and we'll start.
Okay.
That way we
All
can
right.
purchase it and support you. Absolutely.
okay.
I'd like to get you to come to Knoxville. We have a friend that puts on Jaspiration shows once a month. So I have to connect you guys so
All
you
right.
guys can do it together.
Great,
Cool.
great.
Beautiful. Well, we thank you guys for being here once again. Ricky, we will replay this. We ask everybody who's watching to share it with the spouses in your life, the people that you love, and keep talking about these things. Keep asking these questions, and come back and join us again next Wednesday night.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
All right.
We're
Thank
gonna,
Thank you.
and we're gonna set up the group. Look on our Facebook page tonight. You will see it up there. I'm gonna do it right now, and let's continue the conversation. And Mo, next week is Triple Negative Day.
Yes.
So we're gonna talk about the faces of triple negative breast cancer. And we have about 6 or 8 breasties gonna come on and share their stories and have a conversation. And then maybe the next week we should get their husbands on. But you guys are so awesome. I so appreciate you. And I can't wait to see you and just have a party when we can all see each other live.
Yes, amen.
Yeah.
hey, now.
Looking forward to it. Thank you guys. Take care and be blessed.
Take care.
Right.
Stay
All right.
healthy.
Oh, breasty
All right.
love. That's right.
Love. Breasty love.
Right.
Breasty love. Bye.
Yes.
Bye bye.
All right. Good night.
Thank you.